Hi there, in this tutorial we're going to be looking at producing a render of our Roblox noob. Our learning intention is to produce a render of the model in Inventor. We'll explain what rendering is. And for our top success criteria there, we're going to be looking for shadows applied, perspective applied, an explanation of what rendering is, different lighting styles tried, and work completed completely independently. So let's get started in Inventor. I've already got my assembly opened up, so you'll need to find that if we go in File, Open. And by default, you'll be in the assembly view here. What you'll want to do first is go up to View. And first of all, go to Visual Style. And I'll change it to Realistic. Next, we've got shadows here. So this allows us to turn on and off a variety of shadows. So I'll just click All Shadows, and you can have a play around. You can see the ground shadows there, object shadows, so shadows on the actual object there, and then ambient shadows as well from the rendering environment. We've got reflection there as well. You can choose to have that on if you want. That gives a reflection below where the noob is standing. I'm just going to leave that off. In this drop down here, we can change the lighting environment. So you can see as we work through these here, you can change kind of what lights and what environment your model is in, and you can choose which one you prefer there. Some of them will come in with a background, but when we render, we'll actually be taking the background out ideally. So don't worry about it if you don't like the background image there. It's more about how the model itself is lit. I'll just choose that one there. Next up, we've got a view, orthographic, or perspective. So you'll notice orthographic, you'll notice the difference between perspective there. So it's giving you a kind of a 2-point perspective on it. So you've got lines going off to the left there, which you'll learn a little bit more in second year, and lines going off to the right there as well. So the model's kind of disappearing to 2 points. And you've got the option to turn off on a ground plane. I wouldn't worry about that there. Now, if you have the option, you may not, depends on the computer you're working on, you want to turn on ray tracing there. And you can see we hover over that there. Ray tracing enhances lighting and shadows to provide a more realistic visual experience. And that's what, and we'll explain a little bit more about rendering as the render is running. So I'm going to turn on ray tracing. I'll just leave that low, depending on what kind of computer you have. It does take a few seconds there. And then finally, we want to turn on textures. We want textures to be on there. So picking up the textures of the material. Now, it will really vary what your render looks like depending on what materials and appearances you've applied to different parts of your model. I've gone for quite simple materials, but you've used anything which is more intricate, reflective. You'll really see the difference when you render it there. So we'll just let that ray tracing take place. Just a few more seconds. There we are there. So we've got all that there. Next up, we're going to environment. And we want to click on Inventor Studio. So Inventor Studio is the rendering option built within Inventor. And you can get standalone programs to do this here as well. So again, it's just doing the ray tracing there. So it's ray tracing, it's looking at how the light bounces around the environment there off the model. And so it's quite an intense process for the computer to do. Let's give that a wee second. You can notice things like on the head here, we've got some reflection. So that's kind of the material detail there, how reflective the material is. These are ones, it could be reflective, but they're also a flat surface that's going to reflect the light differently. So there are lots of other options here, and you're more than welcome to have a play around with that there. The great thing about Inventor is you can do, there's lots to explore. But we're going to go for a render image there on the top left, a little teapot. And we can choose a resolution. So if you go by 1900 by 1080, that's kind of typical resolution of a widescreen computer or HD TV. And the current view for your camera and current lighting style. Again, you're welcome to have a play around with that there. You need to choose where you're saving your image there. So I can just change that there. I'll just rename that. That's fine. Let's name that Noob 2. And that's saved just in the same folder with my CAD models. Save there. actually, one thing I've missed out there is really important, is we go into options and we make sure we enable the alpha channel. And that means we'll get a nice transparent background. So we can put our noob, you saw on the PowerPoint there, it's sitting on top of the PowerPoint slide. And it's got a transparent background. So click OK there, click Save there. And then renderer, so you can render by time, so you can say it's going to take a maximum amount of time. So that might be good if you're limited time in Clash, you can work out how long you've got. Or render by iterations. I've just gone for 32 here. The more iterations you do, the more realistic the image will look like. So let's just set that. We'll go for 32 iterations there, and we'll click render. So whilst it's rendering here, let's explain a little bit about rendering. So rendering is basically trying to make an image look more lifelike. So we're taking our kind of default colors, and the computer's now trying to work out with the materials and the properties of each of the materials we've applied and the environment it's in. So when we talk about the lighting environment, it's, if you imagine each room you go into is a little bit differently. So if you they've created these environments with lights in different places, shadows, and that gives them all different looks. So if you play with your lighting styles, you see that there. You can see on the model here, we've got some shadows on the side. We've got a kind of lighter section in the middle here. We're catching obviously something in line with this part of the model here in that environment that is light, and we're getting a brighter section there and more reflective on the face there, which is obviously a more reflective material. The key thing about rendering is though, it's making it a more realistic image, and it's including things like shadows, reflection, and any transparent materials, refraction there as well. So just as you can see, it's running away at the top there. We've got our status bar moving along. It's completed, and at the bottom left you can see how many iterations it's completed. If at any point you're running out of time in Clash, and hit the little stop button up there, you can just save the image as it is. Stage, and we'll set the goal of 32 iterations. So every time you're doing an iteration, it's improving the quality of that image there. And this is the same process rendering they'd use in things like animated movies, such as Pixar movies, and they have huge computers, powerful computers that will render the movies there. So obviously they're doing, for each scene they have to render, so it's very intense. So you can see that's now a solid green. I've got the option here to continue rendering, so if I've got a bit more time, you can keep rendering, or you can save that there. I'm just going to you can make sure it's saved. You actually might find that it'll save it automatically if it's set up right. So it's not actually saved it for me. So I say noob, and I've got noob 2. I'm going to save that there. And that's it. That's it done. So you can just close that then once I've saved that. Close that there as well. Finish Inventor Studio as well. And then you can save that, what you've set up view-wise. We'll go back into the View tab there. We can save that there as well. So we've got those kind of environment and stuff that's all been saved to the model. So let's just look back at our PowerPoint now. We have applied shadows, we applied perspective, and we've got different lighting styles. We only tried out one, so you'll need to try out some more. Sorry, we did try out more than one, so you can feel free to render a couple of images there, work completely independently, and hopefully you understand what rendering is. You should now need to write down your definition of that.